G'day, welcome to My Pajero Sport. Today's video is about fitting a catch can. Why do we need a catch can? Let's have a look. Why do we need a catch can? Well, as the engine's working, the pistons are going up and down, and the pressure within the crankcase is changing all the time. Not only are the pistons causing compression within the cylinder, but they're causing compression as they go on their downstroke within the crankcase. Back in the old days, you had a pipe coming out of the side of the crankcase and it just vented straight into atmosphere. And as well as pushing air out, it was also pushing out oil fumes, moisture, gases, blow-by gases from combustion, etc., etc. In around about the 60s, maybe the 70s, they said this is a very naughty thing, and they introduced a thing called a positive crankcase ventilation. And basically what they did was put a valve into the side of the crankcase or up onto the top of the rocker cover, and it diverted all these, I'll call them blow-by gases, diverted all of those back into the inlet manifold. Now in the case of our 4-15 diesel, the PCV valve, I'm assuming that's what they call it on a diesel, but certainly on a petrol engine, that's what it's called. PCV valve comes out of up here. The connector's just under where my finger is, just under the vanity cover there, and comes around, and here straight into the turbo. There is our airbox. There's our pipe that runs into the turbo, and then, as we can see, these nasty gases that are full of oil, petrol, in this case diesel fumes, horrible things like that, all come in with it. They go through the turbo, back out the other end of the turbo under pressure. They go through the intercooler hose, through the intercooler, back out the other side into the inlet, and then into the inlet manifold, and then they get reburnt within the combustion system. So that's how the PCV works. These gases, they let's say cool along the way, but anyway, they're heavy with contaminants, and they will often get caked up in the inlet manifold. My previous vehicle, I had a Volkswagen, or a Skoda. It was a Skoda Octavia, but it was basically a Volkswagen with a different body, and I ran a catch can on that, and every 2,000 kilometres I would pull around about 200 mil of the most horrible looking stuff out of the catch can. The TSI engine in those Volkswagens is absolutely notorious for getting inlet carbon, and in the 200,000 Ks that I owned it, I actually decarboned the inlets twice. So I don't think these diesels are any better. Putting a catch can on is a good bit of preventive maintenance, and it may slow down the formation of the carbon on the inlets. Anyway, let's have a look and see what's in the box that I bought. So here's the kit that I bought. Normally I would go, I would look at the cheapest one, I would look at the most expensive one, and I would buy somewhere in between that. In this case, the cheapest one was obviously a Chinese reproduction and not made to a high standard, with issues with the valves, etc., etc. And it's also a copy of the previous iteration of these catch cans, not a copy of the latest version. And anyway, so I spent some money. I went off to Western Filters and bought directly from them. If it's the first purchase that you've ever made from them, I think they give you I think it's a $10 discount, maybe a $20 discount, something like that. Maybe it's a percentage, I can't remember. Anyway, there is some type of special offer for new customers in order to entice you to buy, and it enticed me to buy it rather than buying off eBay. What's in the box? Well, obviously we're looking right here at what are some quite nice instructions on glossy paper with photos. So photos are always good. A lot of us are very visual. We read that and we just look at it and we go blah, 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 blah. But we look at the photo and we go, ah, that all makes sense. So great, fantastic instructions there. We've got a very nicely made hose, and this one is particularly nice because it's got an extra bit of protective sleeving on it, and I'm assuming this is the hose that runs along beside the vanity cover on the engine, and therefore there's a bit of a risk of, slight risk of some chafing, and we get another hose. So one hose will go from the PCV valve off to the catch can, and then from the catch can it'll run back to that inlet back into the turbo. We get our catch can, Mann and Hummel, fabulous German company, and this is the ProVent 200 4 IV, Roman numerals 4. As you can see, Western filters branded, Mann filter. I used Mann filters on the Volkswagen all the time. They were the OEM manufacturer for the Skoda, for lots and lots of things that come out of Germany. And look, this is even made in Germany. Nice. What else do we get? We get, a box of hardware, a plastic bag full of hardware, various nuts, bolts, Jubilee clips, cable ties, and I'm assuming, oh baby, there's a sticker. We get a bracket, which, that's steel. I don't think it's aluminium. It's heavy. So there you go, a nice bracket. A second bracket. Again, this is another reason why I wanted to go for this one, is because this bracket actually has the catch can mounted off the body, whereas there were previous iterations that were mounted on the brake booster, and you could get some slight vibrations coming through the car because of the way it was mounted to the brake booster. Finally, there's a bit of plastic tubing, and that plastic tubing will be for the drain tube. So that's the kit that we got. Pretty good. Quite happy with that. And so what do we need to do? Well, the catch can is going to sit around about there. This pipe here gets deleted. A new pipe will run from here at PCV valve across to the catch can, and then another pipe will run back to here where the inlet to the turbocharger is. Pretty simple, we hope. What do we need to do first? We need to remove this, I call it the vanity cover because it has no particular use except to make it look good. And we need to remove the airbox. And how do we do that? Vanity cover has 10mm, and there's even a Phillips head there, but Jesus, you wouldn't do that, would you? Anyway, it's a 10mm bolt. There's one there, one there, one there. There's 3 of them. I'm assuming there's also some type, I haven't pulled one of these off before, I'm assuming there's some type of rubber grommet thing, so once you get the bolts out, you're probably going to have to just grab it and give it a decent heft to get it to pop, maybe. We'll see. To remove this one, well, at least we've got to remove that there, that clip there, undo that pipe, just pop it out of its little bracket like that. There you are, we'll do it on the fly. We want to undo that there off the airbox, that one there off the airbox, this little electrical clip which I think is pushed down on that. Yep, push in, push down, come back. Anyway, I'll do that in a minute. It'll be a two-handed job for me. Yeah, weak wrists and all that. And I think there is a bolt hiding down. Let's have a look. Hiding down in there. And another one hiding down just in there. So one at the front of and one at the rear of the washer bottle. Is that the washer bottle or is that the coolant bottle? I can't remember. That's the coolant bottle, isn't it? Yep. And that's about the size of it at the moment. So on the airbox, one last thing of note, as you come down here, here's the elbow that goes into the mudguard. There is that wire there, the clip, it doesn't actually unclip from there. What you've got to do is press in on the horizontal tabs. There we go, and out it comes. So you press in from the sides, not from the top. Hopefully now we can get the airbox out. There we go. And a good opportunity to give all the, have a maybe check of the air cleaner, air filter, and give the airbox a good clean out, and maybe even have a bit of a look under the mudguard and see what's happening in there. But let's get the other bit finished first. And oh, look at that, we might even give that a bit of a wipe over with a rag, make it nice and sexy. Next step is to, look, we've cleaned it. Next step is to attach the bracket. The bracket uses two existing mounting points. One of the mounting points is just in here, so just below the ABS control module and just in front of the brake booster, and there's a stud coming out that's unused. I think that's a M6 nut. And the other one is the strut mount for the front suspension. So as you can see, nice shiny new nut and stud there, because I put new suspension in last week. That one is in this case a 15mm, and if you've got a factory unit, it's a 14mm. And then they say to bolt together the two brackets. And so the way it goes is this one with the dog leg in it. That dog leg down there is the one that fits onto the M6, and it goes like that. And then the bracket here that bolts onto the suspension unit. This lovely little bit of fabrication there that bolts down onto the strut, onto that. It's probably an M8, but 15mm nut across the flats in my case, and it runs forward like that. So those two go together like that. So I'm just going to get them bolted together. So they supply these big penny washers. There's 4 of them. I don't believe they're needed to fit the ProVent itself onto the 2 studs that are mounted there. Maybe they are. To my way of thinking, I don't know why they've supplied such big washers. They look a bit shit, and certainly on that dog leg in there, on the 90-degree angle, you can't fit a washer. I'm probably going to have a little delve into my own hardware store and find something that I find a bit aesthetically more pleasing. So far, things that I didn't like. I'm not saying they're wrong, but I just didn't like them. So where this bracket sits down on this, there's actually a little bit of a shoulder on the stud. So I just went and found a penny washer that fitted neatly over the shoulder to take up that gap between the top of the shoulder and the body, just so that this bracket had a bigger area to sit on. And the other thing that I'm having difficulties with is, as I said, on mine, this is now a 15mm nut. There is no way in the world I can get a socket or anything down onto that to tighten it up. So luckily I've still got my old struts. I haven't taken them to the scrapyard yet. So I'm going to put the 14mm nut back on there, and hopefully I'll be able to get in there with a quite thin wall socket to tighten that up. But they've put this, I'll call it a fillet. They put the fillet in there, or whatever you want to call that, to strengthen that up, which is great. But there's just not enough room between the nut and the side of the fillet. So really that bracket probably could have been a little bit wider, I guess, to allow a little bit more clearance for the nut. But we're getting there, you know. I mean, these things, when you're doing the first time, never easy, never simple. And in my case, I just look at stuff and I go, well, can I do that a little bit better than what I have already? Concerning the 2 joining nuts up there, look, I finished up I found some really nice cap head screws, and then I thought, wait on, that's introducing a second fastener type, that means you've then got to carry more tools if you're out bush or whatever, in case you need to pull that apart. Why you'd need to, I don't know. and the fasteners they provided were stainless steel, so I kept the nut and bolt, but I haven't used the flat washers they gave us. I had some bevel washers that I put on here, so as that tightens up, those bevel washers will actually flatten out. And I had some really crap star washers that I've put in here, that just to try and help stop them vibrating off. But they are crap ones, and they probably will rust. So that's something I've got to keep an eye on, and I'll just change them out for some stainless steel ones when I get the opportunity, if I can find my stainless steel split washers. And this is the problem with being a person who keeps everything for later on because it might come in handy, is you can never find it again because you've got so much things coming in handy. Alrighty, so the bracket's in. So this one down here is hiding in there somewhere, is a 10mm. We finished up with a 14mm down on that one. And what I did was I tightened that up before I joined the two brackets up, even though the instructions say join the two brackets up first. I also, if you just tightened it up, that vertical was hard up against the air conditioner lines, which I really didn't like. When you consider that the vertical one is attached to the, let's call it the chassis, and the air conditioning lines are attached to the body, and because this is a chassis construction type vehicle, that means they're two different components, and one's going to be moving slightly independently of the other. So I actually situated this one so that it was just sitting out a bit, and then when I fitted it, I did actually put a slight bend into the bracket so that it cleared the air conditioning lines. As I said, I used their fasteners, added a couple of my own washers. I didn't like the washers they supplied, even though their washers were stainless steel, which is great. They are 13mm, which means that you can bust out your old half 9/16 socket set, or whatever it might be, half 9/16 open enders. So 13mm is half an inch, so that was all right. The other thing that I'm not overly thrilled about, and I do like aesthetics, is the way that bracket there has got this lovely nice angle on it like that, but this bracket here is horizontal. I would prefer them to both be lining up with each other, because the way it was, this made me want to push this bracket down so that the tops were parallel with each other. So that's just one of my little niggly things that I get up to. And the instructions say, ensuring the horizontal bracket is level. And I really, I mean, what do they mean level? Do they mean level that way? Do they mean level that way? Like, let's use the words horizontal, vertical, things like that. And again, it's just me because I've been writing, I've written a lot of instructions over my time. Anyway, it's in now, and I'm going to live with that, and hopefully I've got it right. And it does look good, I mean, I'm having a bitch, but it does look good, and it's better than what I could have constructed in my workshop. Not that that's anything to go by, because, God, my fabrication skills are somewhat crap at times. Anyway, let's go on to the next bit. So the next thing it says to do is to attach the drain hose to the catch can, and then feed it down through the onto the past the chassis so that you can drain it easily. And so I've done that. That's on just loose at the moment, and I fed it down past all these brake lines for the ABS, past just near the brake booster, you can see it there, and I've just removed that little press button stud thing there, so I can look up there and you'll see that there is a whole stack of wiring connections there, and I've just brought it down past the inside of the wiring connection, so not rubbing on anything. And according to their instructions, they want you to mount it kind of back there. So you've got that, man, it's hard to get some light in here, you've got that oval hole and they want it mounted back here somewhere, which I'm assuming they're not going to expect you to drill into the chassis, I'm assuming. So there's our oval hole in the chassis, and I think they want us to fit it onto that bracket just there. So that'll be 12mm, undo it, and then slip the clamp under that. So that's what I'm going to try and do. Alrighty, we're in. All the hoses are tight, none of them are rubbing against anything. The drain hose is in. Little point of note, what I did with that. So, I put it down on that bracket down there. The bracket has a small little right angle bend in it at the bottom, so I took the bracket off, which isn't hard, you have to undo that 12mm bolt anyway. And just belted the bracket flat. Try and say that really fast when you got COVID, Jesus. Yeah, belted the bracket flat, put the P-clamp on first, and then threaded the tube through the P-clamp. I've put a little cable tie, there's a hard pipe just there, so I put a little cable tie right next to the bracket that mounts on, just to keep it nice and beautiful there. Where are we? The little drain valve, you can see I haven't got that sticking below the chassis level, maybe 2 or 3mm, but it's basically sticking up. And, you know, I mean, if you want, you could kind of grab that and put it like that, if you want. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether that hose is flattened out a little bit or anything like that. It's just a drain hose. It's not taking pressure. So happy days there. And I think that's it. So would I buy the Western Filters kit again? Yes, I would. I think it's, you know, despite all the little nitpicking that I did, I think it's a pretty good kit. I mean, you could always go and buy a ProVent, just that box yourself, and try and rig something up. And I mean, I like doing things like that, but in this case, I think that just would have led to tears and frustration and a really crap looking job. I mean, you know, in the scheme of things, this doesn't look too bad at all. And yeah, so that's it. I mean, I've still got to put the engine cover back on. I've still got to put the airbox back in. So I'm just putting the airbox back in, and the poor old catch can is built against the airbox. And my fix for that is going to be to loosen off those 2 bracket bolts and push the catch can backwards a bit, get that clearance, and then tighten them back up again. But I'm thinking about, while I've got it all out, that I may as well change that intercooler hose while I've got some access. And hey, look at that. So that's the inlet, and you can see the oil blow by and stuff that's getting there, the diesel blow by. Anyway, that's it. I'm blabbering on. Thanks for watching. Hope this was helpful to you. I know it's not an actual how-to, but it's a bit of an overview, I guess you'd call it. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.